Jesus told his disciples that he will have to go to Jerusalem to teach the elders and people, and Peter became angry and said, "May God or creation prevent this? You will be unalived if you go there." And Jesus became angry and said back, "Get away from me, Satan, for you are the annoyance because you are thinking not in the spiritual but human terms." So he's saying that he has to do this. This is his spiritual path, and he's calling Peter Satan because he's trying to get into his mind to prevent him from. Satan, he's referring to as the negative thought of what he talked about before about annoyance. If annoyance enters your brain, smash it out immediately. Don't let it consume you. Stop it in its tracks. And what Peter is trying to do is trying to get him annoyed and frustrated with him having to go to the people that want to unalive him. So he's saying, no, don't let that thought enter my mind, because he doesn't want to think like that, and that's thinking in the flesh, not in spiritual terms. He tells Peter, "You will be to blame for false teachings, for misinterpreting my words, but you are still older the grace of my long-suffering patience, so you can still measurably improve upon your irrationality." So he's having grace for Peter and saying that I have patience for you, I'll continue teaching you, and there's a chance that you're going to understand what I'm telling you. So Jesus said, "Those who desire to follow my teaching should take it upon themselves the burden of the search for truth, insight, and understanding." So we must interpret it ourselves. So I think he's saying two things in this. Like, it's our responsibility to not take his words as face value, to seek truth and insight ourselves by what I said, looking through our spirit, talking to creation, praying, doing all these things, so that sitting in silence, so that we understand the messages that is giving to us. Whereas they're used to following the Pharisees, and they're just giving them the answers without them having to seek it themselves. So he's saying, no, seek the answers out yourself. He says, "How can one hear spirit if unable to think?" If you're not able to think for yourself, then you're just following what society, those in power, have told you to believe, and you can't think for yourself and question and use common sense, then you won't be able to hear the messages that Spirit is telling. You need to develop a strong intuition by working on it for you to hear what Spirit is telling you, or you'll be forever doing what everyone else tells you to do. The human spirit is ignorant until he has gained knowledge through thinking and inquiry. So we're born as this vessel that just is soaking up knowledge based on what other people are telling us. But we have to develop the skills to think for ourselves so that we can understand the knowledge and wisdom that's being placed upon us, but also the ability to question it so we know whether it's the truth or not. And only our spirit will lead us to that if we start working on it. The spirit of a person is not a human product, but is part of creation given to humans. It must be made knowledgeable and perfected so that it proceeds to become one with creation. Since creation too lived in constant growth, creation is timeless, and so is the human spirit. The human life is destined for perfection of the spirit in order for that life be lived in fulfillment thereof. So this is a lot. So our soul is a gift that creation gave us. He didn't need to break apart parts of him for souls to exist, but he decided to do that, and he gave us the choice of free will to go down which path we want to go down, negative or positive, selfish or unselfish. All of these things he gave us the choice to choose. And the whole point of our existence, when we start to understand it, is to seek knowledge and truth about creation and our purpose and who we are in this world. So even though creation is omnipotent and all-knowing, he is still, what Jesus just said, he is still living by constant growth. He still wants to grow and expand his consciousness and understand the realms of existence and the creational laws that he created for us and for himself, that he abides by as well, or tries to abide by, I guess. So he created us so that we go on that same pursuit of growth. So our ultimate goal is to be one with creation, to reach that level where we become one with creation on his level. But we can only do that if we're growing alongside with him. If we're staying stagnant and we're not getting the basics, level 1, then we can't get to his level, because he's constantly growing and evolving. So we have to reach that speed where we're constantly growing and evolving, or we're going to constantly come back in incarnations. If we weren't trapped here, it would be different planets, so that we learn and grow. Even when humans burden themselves with mistakes, they act according to a law of creation because they learn from them and gather insight and knowledge, whereby they develop their spirits, and through their spirit strengths, they are able to act. Without making the mistakes, it is impossible, therefore, to gather the logic, insights, knowledge, love, and wisdom necessary to develop their spirit. So we need to make mistakes. Mistakes are okay. It's just if we allow ourselves to wallow in guilt. So even a mistake is considered part of the laws of creation. So just because you make a mistake doesn't mean you're doomed and you can't get better. No, a mistake helps teach you and gives you insight in what he just said, knowledge, love, wisdom, if you choose to see it that way. If you wallow in guilt, misery, shame, all of these things, then you're not going to learn from that mistake. You're going to stay stagnant and stay in the same position that you were before. But if you can use it as a stepping stone to not make that same mistake, as a stepping stone to learn and grow, then you are on the path of reaching your highest consciousness, of developing that self-love and that unconditional love and being one with creation, because you're using those mistakes as a learning experience. We came here as a blank slate. We had no prior knowledge before because our memories were wiped. So it's inevitable that we're going to make mistakes. We can't be perfect because we didn't know what it means to be perfect. So don't beat yourself up when you make a mistake. Use it as a learning experience and apply those lessons learned to a new version of you. And then you will get closer to creation and being one with creation if you just learn from your mistakes. Take it, learn from it, move on. Another mistake, learn from it, move on. The trick is to not make the same mistakes over and over again because you're going to be faced with the same lessons. Make new mistakes and then learn from them.